Ya lo hace. Pierna derecha, directo al arco. ¡Golazo! ¡Golazo!
The world of football with a soccer perspective. This is Soccer Today with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee. Live on the Sports Podcasting Network.
And good day, good night. Welcome to Soccer Today with Duane Rollins. As always, I'm Kevin Laramee. Duane's on the line as well. Duane, how you doing?
I am well. I'm a little tired. I took a temporary 3-month contract, which I'm running like my head's cut off. That's why I wasn't able to join you yesterday. But I'm all rested up and I'm ready to go. And I have all my rants and my hot takes. They're lined up because it seems to be the season of the hot take.
It's the week of the rant. I never really used the word hot take because I think it has, well, it makes me hungry in the morning for some hot cakes, but that's something different. But it does give me like a bad connotation to it, because like when we say hot take, it's just he's just saying this to like get talked about. Or no, sometimes an opinion is based on facts, and it's like how you explain it. So rant is a bit more. I like that term better.
Yeah, I actually listened to a podcast a while back with Andrew Buchholz, which has appeared on a few SPN shows through the years. He's a football guy, works for Awful Announcing. If you don't know Andrew, but anyway, he was on the Richard Deitch podcast.
Yeah, awesome site, Awful Announcing, when you like the world of sports like we do.
Yes, exactly. So Andrew was on there, and he writes a column for Awful Announcing, which is the hot takes of the week, right? And he explained how he defined hot takes, and it was basically a hot take was different from a strong opinion, in that a hot take was based on a lack of understanding. It was more of a gut reaction that wasn't necessarily based on anything logical or definable or defendable. So that was how he described a hot take, and I think that's probably pretty accurate. So we like to take warm takes here. So they're new, they're fresh. We're a daily show, they have to be fresh, but we try to nuance them up a little bit, and we're going to talk about a nuanced take from our friend Herculez Gomez in the second segment today, Kevin. But maybe we should break down what was a day of blowouts in Champions League yesterday.
Welcome back, the Champions League. Got to see Neymar, got to see Barcelona, Juventus. I did not have a chance to see Chelsea Karabakh, unfortunately. It was not available anywhere. I've tried some streams as well, but I hadn't a good enough Wi-Fi connection. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to see the 6-0 destruction of Chelsea against Karabakh. But yeah, you mentioned the blowouts, like it was a 5-0, but CSK Moscow, the Red Army, beating Benfica at home 2-1. That was a game that impressed me yesterday. That's like literally maybe a knockout stage presence for Moscow with that win.
Yeah, they're a tough place to go play, and they've been hot and cold. I remember watching them quite closely in the group a couple years ago. They're a decent side. They've been in a knockout stage before. Benfica is a hard team to handicap, and they're one of those kind of UEFA, like Europa cusp teams, I'd like to say, in the sense that if they're in the Europa League, you make them a favorite, but when you're in the Champions League, they're hard done by. Although that said, Sporting had a good result yesterday, so the Portuguese league had some mixed results. But yeah, those cusp teams are. I don't know. It begs my question. This was a topic that I did see a few people banting about yesterday with those big results, and albeit one of them was Juventus getting blown out by Barcelona. So maybe that we shouldn't talk too hard about this, but maybe the competition's a bit too big, and I don't think there's much chance of it ever getting smaller, But sometimes when you have a group stage like this, and with the money with PSG, and the PSG being, I think, the big talking point yesterday with their big money and their ability to just slap a team down like they did, you have to wonder, maybe this would be better off with a buy for these big clubs coming in a little later or something.
That's true, but I do like the fact that you see big clubs shine early on, like actually have result, and like the 5-0 win of PSG. Was it 5-0? Yeah, it was 5-0. So the big win of PSG versus Celtic yesterday. You get a chance to see the big stars make big goals, and Neymar creating, and Cavani with an amazing header off like a video game. It was quite impressive. But you see those results. You see those big teams, big name teams, big superstars shine, have a great moment. And eventually it's going to get tougher throughout the competition. And the Champions League used to be the place where all the big teams would test each other. Now it's where the big teams shine, and eventually they'll test each other. There's that aspect that's been added to the competition, if you catch what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people, I know a lot of really strong football fans that will watch the group stage thing, but they won't take time off work. They won't necessarily, if they have a big project or something, they're not going to, put it on the background. They're going to sort of pay half attention until you get to that round 16, round 8, round 4 final situation where obviously at that point, all hands on deck, everyone's in, because it is big versus big usually, or big versus story, and that's compelling too. Up until then, you're going to have a few matches that are less interesting. But that said, we have a full other day. Manchester City hasn't crapped the bed yet in the Champions League. That's an annual tradition now. So we'll see what Feyenoord does this afternoon. However, I think we're bound to see a few funny results before this group stage is over. But it didn't start in a way that was good for the big teams, but not necessarily competitive on the pitch in an overall kind of way yesterday.
Yeah, one thing that interests me yesterday, too, like in the game Bayern Munich versus Anderlecht, Ribéry's reaction to things, like his reaction to a foul on one of his players, Lewandowski at the box, and they did get the penalty on it. But on the foul, Ribéry runs to the referee, starts yelling at the referee, and gets himself a yellow for a play that's positive on his side, like on his team. The call's been done. It's been called against Anderlecht. They've been given the penalty and the yellow card. So I don't understand why referee comes to the referee, yells, and then gets subbed off later on, comes out, takes off his kit, takes off his jersey, throws it, goes on the bench and starts sulking and holding himself and literally like throwing a tantrum and a temper tantrum. And friend,
I don't know. I've never been the biggest Ribéry fan. I have nothing against French football. In fact, I find it quite beautiful to watch a lot of times the national team. But Ribéry's just something a little off about him, always has been.
There's nothing beautiful watching Frank Ribéry, but that's something else.
Yeah, that's maybe mean, but nonetheless.
Yeah, it's might be mean. Hey, but come on. Why that reaction? I still don't get it. Why are you mad at your coach? Are you mad at him for some reason? You're actually playing now. You're back playing. What's going on? Why? Maybe I don't know. Maybe he won't be playing more if he continues to act like this.
The other thought I had, I was watching primarily Barca Juve with Byron on the background, and I thought that the Bayern game was a little closer than Freenio suggested. It was tied later than the other one. Obviously, Barca was broken open and with a brilliant second half, and I want to talk about Messi's second goal in a minute because that was beautiful. Anyway, I thought that they did a little bit better off, but Robin, man. Do we give him enough appreciation? Is he that hidden world superstar? And I think maybe with the Dutch's struggle a little bit lately, we're kind of missing him on the international scene a little bit. I don't think we're going to see him in the World Cup now, which is a bit unfortunate.
He's not flashy outside of the game. He's not the one who you hear about in the gossip columns. You don't hear him like complain. He's like the ultimate professional that just does his thing, and he's at a higher level than other players. Yes, but he's not Messi or Ronaldo either. So he just does his own thing and keeps a low profile. But day in, day out, it gives a constant output. Right? There's such a thing as being the best ever, scoring 3 goals. But that outside of being Ronaldo and Messi, it's even them. It's hard to maintain that output of performance game to game. Robin influences game to game, and you're right, we don't necessarily pay enough attention because in the Bundesliga maybe, and we don't necessarily pay as much attention to the Bundesliga as we do to La Liga and the Premier League. So maybe that's a reason. But you're right, Robin is one of the players that when you put him in your midfield, you know what you're going to get.
No, precisely, yeah, and it occurred to me as I was watching that game, because I thought that he really was, a key in breaking down Anderlecht quite a bit when they were sort of sitting back in that first half. And, I may be a part of it too as we talk, if we want to continue to be mean a little bit. He's looked 35 since he was 22. So perhaps that makes us think that he's always on the cusp. I don't know.
Exactly. We're like, oh, wow, he's still playing. Oh, wait, yeah, he's not that old.
Exactly. He's looked the same forever. Like, are we sure that he's not like a droid or something?
That's the same for Ribéry. He's been looking 45 since he's 15. So.
Yes, exactly. There you go. Look,
he's been looking like Serge his bull, in my opinion, for the last 15 years, but that's another reference.
There you
Which
go.
is a reference mixed of vodka, whiskey, and cigarettes, which is not the case for Ribéry, but still got that look.
Vodka, whiskey, and cigarettes. That sounds like, I don't know, French football from 1976 or something. Or maybe Russian. Who knows? All right,
Maybe
a
at
couple
some point
others.
in 2010 too, but that's something else.
There you go. Some other results of interest there. Obviously, United with a big 3-0 victory. They continue to start their season fairly strong. The Stoke result aside, although, Stoke can be Stoke sometimes.
Wait, was it raining? Was it raining?
It
Was it a
wasn't
Tuesday?
raining, I don't
Was it a
think, but-
Tuesday, raining Tuesday in Stoke? You never know.
Yes, exactly. So they got the draw there, which puts them back even on top. But Atleti with the 0-0, that's so Atleti. They start. Rome is a decent side, so let's not dismiss that too much. But I think the key sort of piece of news out of Atleti this past week, they're about to go into their new stadium, and they've that's an interesting challenge for them. It's located further away, a little outside their core constituency, but. Simeone re-ups. He is now, I believe, the second longest serving manager amongst the Big Five leagues. The Big Five leagues, second longest. You'll never guess who first is. Everyone knows who first is. That would be Mr. Wenger.
Yeah, Wenger. I'd be thinking for a second, then I'm like, oh wait, yeah.
No, there's one that's like, it used to be like when Ferguson was like 700 years and everyone else was quiet, but yeah.
How long did he stay? Like 27 years? No, more than that. What 30?
86, I believe, 86 to 2014, 2015. So yeah, quite a while. You can do the math there. But Simeone is sort of, he's set up to 2020 now. This is a guy that there was a little bit of suggestion that he might not go there. He might look for a new challenge. That after they lost that last final 2 years ago, he was sort of, I think that hurt them a little bit, and then they struggled through last year. Wasn't their best season, although they went deep in the Champions League again. I don't know. Is a 0-0 result against Roma on their opening day for Atleti? Is that a sign of them slipping up, or is that a sign of them still getting clean sheets in the Champions League? I go more for the latter there.
Me too. I look at it as a clean sheet in the Champions League on the road in Roma, which, all things considered, if you go back in the history of football, is not an easy thing to do.
No, precisely. All right, and obviously we should talk about Barca.
Well, Barca, Juventus. Well, I think they were missing Chiellini. Oh, Chiellini.
He's
the player that left to go. Bonucci left and packed up his things without making a big fuss and moved to Milan, now playing for AC Milan. And I think it made a big difference for Juventus. And it's a team that is getting a little old on certain part of the field. Yes, you still have Dybala creating, but the loss over the last few years of players like Bonucci last year are really starting to show now.
Yeah, precisely. I think it's time for us to book a Italian guest to do a little around Serie A to sort of look at these teams a little closer, because I don't pretend to follow that league as closely as I do the English League or MLS, obviously, but it is of interest to me, and I've heard a lot. I have a lot of Italian friends, and they tell me that Juve might be vulnerable this year, and this sort of reinforce that opinion and makes me want to investigate it a little bit more. But the other side of that coin is that Barca, after that tough sort of result against Real Madrid in the opening season Super Cup-y thing there, what's it called? I don't remember. Anyway,
Supercopa?
Yeah, there's like 6,000 of those damn things. It's hard to keep them all straight. But you know what I'm talking about. The excuse to play Real Madrid twice in the preseason. At any rate, they had their ass handed to them that, and everyone, the whole trying to get the president out and all that. Then they spank down Espanyol 5-0, which that's Espanyol, and they don't necessarily ever compete with them. But nonetheless, it's still a derby win. And then they followed up with a 3-0 win against Juventus, the team that took them to the Champions League last year. And I want to talk about that second goal of Messi's. That is a goal that is not ever going to go down for goal of the year, but to me, the piece of skill that you saw that with that little flick to the back leg to sort of get the defender off balance, go change the pace, go forward, go across goal and shoot across your body. Have you ever tried to shoot across your body
Those are
with
the toughest.
power?
Yeah.
Oi.
No, I agree. From left to right, usually that was the case there. Or you have from right to left, meaning shooting your with your right foot, a ball across your body to the left corner, low shot, those are very difficult. And you have to have the right angle, too, that you miss the keeper that's diving to get it, but you still find a way to sneak it inside the post for the goal. And those are difficult shots, and I have to agree with you there. And I've never played at a high level that I would actually try my skills at that point. But those are the type of shot that I never do on FIFA because it's so difficult. But no, you are absolutely right. The piece of skill needed to achieve that result by Messi, it's not going to go down in history as a famous goal, but it is technically very difficult to achieve.
Exactly. And look, that game, full measure. That's the game I watched most closely. And Barca, the Juventus had a few moments in the break in the first half. They adjusted to it, and with Messi's goal at the 45 there, it broke it open, and it really did expose Juventus to the point that made you think, well, maybe Barca, they might be having internal problems, but they're still Barcelona, and this is still a team that's going to be very, very, very dangerous this year. We went all through this with barely touching on PSG's 5-0 win over Celtic. I guess the only thing I'll say that is it was a bit of a marker that makes you think that maybe this team is a Champions League contender. They are the third favorite in the betting markets right now, behind obviously the two Spanish teams.
You know what surprised me, Duane? The chemistry with Paris. Like Neymar just walks in and boom, seems like he's been playing with those players forever. It's like, well, it's probably easier to learn how to play with Neymar than anybody else as well because, well, he does everything right? So as a teammate, you're probably finally somebody who anticipates what I want. And literally goes to the right place at the right time. But players like Cavani have stepped up too, using Neymar as a piece for them to have more space, literally, on the field. And you see Cavani being very efficient since Neymar has been joining the team. So PSG really impressed me. But, a little bit of skirmish between one Celtic player, Radson, I believe, and Neymar. And at the end of the game, the Celtic player comes to see Neymar trying to shake his hand. Neymar wants none of it, turns around, covers his mouth, and starts saying something. And then he got the Celtic player even more riled up. And it was quite interesting scene, the confidence that PSG is oozing.
Exactly. Today's matchups, I think Spurs BBB is probably the one that most people will be looking into, unless you're a Real Madrid fan or Man City fan in my case. But that is probably your closest matchup there. Liverpool City will also get a lot of attention. Feyenoord City, real quickly going through them. Leipzig,
Monaco is fascinating. Leipzig had a certain rise in the Bundesliga last year. They weren't able to maintain it and mount a challenge for the title, but still were a top three team last year. Monaco lost all their best pieces, and Falcao is now by himself. So how will Leipzig fare against Monaco? For me, it's interesting as well because those two teams were up and coming, and Monaco were champion last year. So you never know what can happen.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be the most interesting one out there for sure. Continuing on real quickly, Spartak, which is, we don't see them a lot on the Champions League level, so they'll be interesting to see. A bit of a lighter touch against Minerva to start. Napoli and Shakhtar, Apoel and Real Madrid, which, that should be fun for Real Madrid fans, I'm sure.
It'll be the 5-0 of the day. Will be Madrid Apoel.
And Besiktas and Porto, so a little Canadian content. Atiba Hutchison, hopefully gets the profile he deserves. I'm sure the boys on the panel on TSN will talk him up big today because they all like and know him. All right, Kevin, any final thoughts on Champions League before we break and talk a little USSF and Alexi Lawless and Herc Gomez and all that good stuff?
No, absolutely. Let's just take the break and we'll be right back on Soccer Today.
You are listening to Soccer Today. Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Today SPN and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.
And we're back on Soccer Today. Duane Rollins with myself, Kevin Laramee. Duane, last Sunday during the Seattle-LA game that was transmitted for one of the first time in French as well on TV Sport, first non-impact MLS game being broadcast. That's not a playoff game or an all-star game. The English version, Alexa Lawless went on a rant. We've talked about it yesterday, Jonathan Tannenwald and I. We played the rant, but you have a different side of that rant, and maybe the rebuff of Hercules Gomez.
Yeah, Hercules Gomez on his podcast, the Max and Hurt podcast, which is a good show if you want to listen to someone else other than us. But, and we don't encourage that. But nonetheless, I do listen to it quite a bit.
It's not illegal, but it's just frowned upon. But for this time, we'll let it slide.
Yes, exactly. Well, Hercules Gomez, who of course has been a guest on the show a couple times and a guest on It's Called Football, famously back in the past. And I follow and quite enjoy and enjoyed for quite years. He's a very thoughtful player, one of the smartest guys working in the business right now. Had a little bit more of a nuanced take on the Alexi Lawless one. As a former player, he wasn't doing the have you never played the game thing, because Alexi Lawless clearly did play the game, although he did have some interesting sort of insight into how well Alexi Lawless did play the game. He said something which was he's known better for his looks than his actual game. So that was
well, what do you remember of the 1996 World Cup, 1994 World Cup? I know what I remember: jean, kit, and red hair.
Exactly, and he followed that up to say, look, Alexi Lawless is a smart guy that's really taken advantage of the opportunities that were presented to him. He was kind of a Palmer-like player that got an opportunity in Serie A for a little while and managed to take a big personality and make a career out of it, and has done very well with it. So he wasn't necessarily being dismissive of that, because Hercules Gomez, himself is also using a big personality kind of in a different way to forge a media career as well. So he was careful that way, although he had Anyway, we'll continue on to his. It wasn't called a rant. It was more of one of those warm takes that I talked about. He said that, first off, that Lawless he used the term borderline plagiarizing a similar rant that occurred on ESPN-FC, and I haven't heard that one, so I'm not going to comment directly on it. But basically, it was someone with limited knowledge of the ESPN-FC one, with someone with limited knowledge of the American player pool. Going, well, why do Americans keep making these excuses? They just played bad. And then Alexi Lawless took it to another level and used a lot of flippant little things. Like, what the hell did Michael Bradley? We don't need him to be Zen. We need him to be a leader. What's this even mean? Like, I don't know. At any rate, but it was funny, and we all kind of laughed at it. And that's sort of what the point that Herc was making, is that although there's truth to it, there is truth to this idea that the American player is under. The American player, he's put it this way, that he was an American player, and that he got lots of criticism in the Mexican press, lots of criticism in foreign press at times. But whenever he got criticism as a player in American press, he reacted more negatively to it and took it less seriously, because of this perception that the American media doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to the game. He then paused, now that he works in the media, so take this with whatever grain of salt you want, and goes, well, we now realize that maybe that's not true, that there's a lot of Americans that know a lot about the game, that can criticize these players a great deal, and they do criticize them. They just, maybe those voices don't necessarily get heard at the highest level. So Lawless in some way was doing a service by throwing this out there and throwing the gauntlet down, but he was doing so in a way that Herculeo Gomez qualified as performance, not analysis. And I think
that's kind of true, though, because that was practice. It was a teleprompter. It was probably, I don't know if there was writers. I don't believe so. He might have written it himself, and hopefully that is the case. But yeah, it was a halftime TV production.
Yeah, and analysis is why was Jeff Cameron struggling on the day? Why was Tim Howard out of position? Analysis is whether Tim Howard should still be the number one keeper for the U.S. in these situations. And if not, why? That's analysis. And analysis, we talked about hot takes off the top, and I think that this is maybe one of the key points of what hot takes aren't and why people react against them, is they aren't analysis. They are performance. And maybe some of us are sick of that and want to see some analysis. So I thought it was a really interesting sort of take on that, and it made me think about that. And it also ties in, Kevin, to news that is coming out today. The winds of change are blowing through U.S. soccer in a lot of ways, and I'm not just talking about the big title stuff, the big attention stuff like the lawsuits and NASL sanctioning and stuff like that. But there's just sort of a discontent, and it strikes. Like I go both ways as a informed outsider of U.S. soccer issues, and I think that's probably a fair way to put us. We're not there. We're not in the middle of it, so we don't have the same emotional attachment to it, but we live it, so we know it quite well. I don't know whether Americans are completely reacting rationally sometimes to some of the quote-unquote problems that they have. Is it a problem to only get a draw in San Pedro Sula? Is it? Is it really?
I'll take it. I'll take it any day. I'll take it 4 years ago.
Yeah, is it a problem to barely make a World Cup? Is it? Is it really? That's a Canadian perspective, though. For their perspective,
for us, it's like a utopian dream. Yeah, it's a high water mark. Yeah, a utopian dream, or like a destination that we still haven't figured out the path to get to yet since 1986. So for us, it's like the destination. For them, it's just every 4 years, right? It's part of the course. It's a expectation, not a destination.
Yeah, and that begs the question, and I guess maybe this is where some of the discontent is coming from, is that should they be expecting more? And there's two answers to that. I mean, it depends on how you interpret that question. Should they be expecting more based on the talent that's there right now? Maybe not. Maybe this is where they are. Maybe making World Cups and competing when you're at World Cups, and they have competed consistently, just not at a championship level. The U.S. is not in danger of winning a World Cup anytime soon, and I think that ultimately is where a lot of Americans they get lost, because they're used to being the top of the world at everything they do. And I'm not saying that to be dismissive. I'm not saying that to be the ugly, arrogant American. I'm saying that in reality. I mean, when the U.S. when you put that U.S. strip on, the U.S. jersey, the U.S. shirt, whatever it is that you're representing in, the expectation is that you're going to compete to win gold medals, you're going to compete to win world championships. It's doubled down by the fact that the U.S. women are in that situation, right? But the U.S. men in the world of, football world, the greater footballing world, they're just not there. And I don't think a lot of Americans necessarily see whether the pathway to get there exists right now, and I think that frustrates them, and that's what they're reacting to, and that's why we're seeing such strong opinion about this particular group come out right now. It's because they're just not seeing that progress, and that begs the question of whether it's realistic for them to see that progress, and that's where I might differ a little bit and see that what the U.S. program has done over the last 20 years, to me, is remarkable. And to me, is a great story and something that should be celebrated, whereas I think a lot of Americans look at it and go, why is it stalled? And
I think this is where the rant of Alexi Lawless and the comment that you just mentioned merge into one, in my opinion, where he was right. It's true. And if you look at the infrastructures that USSF has been able to put in place since 1994, totally different game now. You're looking at players that are giving at least a lot more development tools as youngsters throughout their National League programs up until the professional level that any other soccer generation in American history before. That is the case. So that's why when Alexi Lawless says, you're a generation that's been given everything, I think what it actually means is you're a generation that's been giving more than every generation before. Not necessarily everything, and not necessarily optimal, but at least most and more than all the other generations before. So I think that's where it is true that USSF has been able to provide a better infrastructure, development environment for the players to bloom at a higher level. The probability, the possibility of it, now it's on the players to achieve it. And I think that's where there's maybe a little disconnect, that it should be a little higher with the resources provided to the elite program.
Yeah, and this is where Herc actually spoke a little bit to this generational divide in terms of this generation has been given everything, and he spoke a little bit, which spoke to, like I said, the divide. He made which I'll label it a not politically correct turn of phrase, which I actually quite liked and illustrated right there. Is Alexi Lawless, of course, is a pioneer of U.S. soccer in the sense that he was part of that generation that emerged from the shadows and got them to the point which they are at now, and that they have, they're struggling to get beyond. He said that, and this is the turn of phrase he used, which I quite liked, is that pioneers get the arrows and pioneers get arrows, settlers get the land. And that's what he was sort of suggesting. If you follow that logic there, that they came first and they dealt with all the crap, they dealt with all the bad stuff, and they didn't necessarily get the rewards of their issue. Although it's a bit ironic because Alexei Wallace most certainly did get the rewards because he's a very wealthy man, based on the fact that he was a pioneer. So maybe it doesn't quite fit there, but that was something that Herc Gomez said in that particular case that sort of rang true to me, that there is sort of maybe a generational resistance towards the fact that these guys that have gotten more resources haven't necessarily taken the U.S. to the top of the game. But I think that this is where American exceptionalism sort of comes in a little bit. This is where, the American expectation that they always be the best at everything is a bit difficult for me to completely get behind, because the reality is they are 100 years behind a lot of countries out there that are at the top level. Literally, they have been competing and doing the things that the U.S. learned to do in the last 20 years, 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 years ago. And that is a very difficult gap to close, and you're not going to close it overnight. And that's, I think, where a lot of U.S. soccer observers are. They're impatient for something that may happen at the very end of my lifetime, right? You might see the U.S. And I have said this before. I've been asked directly on American podcasts whether I think the U.S. will ever win a World Cup. And my answer is, I could see it in my lifetime. I don't think I will, but I wouldn't be stunned, right? But in the next lifetime, maybe. That's something that I think that you can finally close that gap and fix it up. But right now, there's a lot of sort of hot takes. They are hot takes based on two results in the Hex that didn't quite go exactly the way U.S. fans were used to them go. The home loss being the more prominent one, and I think that's doubly frustrating with the fact that they saw so many Costa Ricans cheering against them, which is they weren't used to in recent games. And then you go down to Honduras, and you're still frustrated by that. And you overreact to it because you did lose the other game, right? Had they won the home game and they drew in Honduras, everything's fine. No one's talking about it. But because they didn't, everyone is. And you set up a lot of things, including, and I think that this is the news point that we'll tie it into, a challenge emerged for the top of the USSF this week. And that does beg the question, and I'll ask you directly, is it time for a new president of the USSF? Do we need a new voice? Gladdy's been there a long time now. Is it time to maybe move on from that? He's done some good things, certainly seen the USSF into the era of more fully professionalism. But is it time for a new leader? The gentleman's name is Steve Gans. He's an attorney from Boston. I don't know much more about him than that, so we don't pretend to break down that challenge in any specific political way. But in a general sense, is this a good thing for U.S. soccer, Kevin?
At least opposition is a good thing. At least the presence of a campaign is a good thing. At least the possibility of both parties trying to get support from delegation from across the United States of the soccer associations to get the election go their way. At least, which that means promise, which means progress in the soccer level. Maybe that's needed. Then we'll see what Sunil Gulati can do as well, which wasn't the case in the prior election. He's been unopposed for how many years?
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but
it's been a election, right? So now at least opposition will get the ball rolling when it comes to maybe some better funding for some different programs across the pyramid across the United States.
Yeah, my caveat to this is opposition is good unless it's insane opposition, and I don't know whether it is or not. Like, if this is just a guy, guns blazing, come in trying to completely turn over MLS and the entire system, then, that's not realistic. Progress is
hopefully he doesn't
and
come in with pro-rel, Hopefully this is not his hill to die on.
That was kind of where I was going with that. If Ted was, I kind of take that back from a podcasting perspective. Ted running for the USSF president might be entertaining, but
we'll keep the market. Nobody will want to listen to anything else anymore.
Yeah,
oversight anyway. Yeah,
exactly. But I have to look more into this gentleman, and perhaps down the road, if this continues, we can follow this a little bit more, because it is a story that's interesting and it matters, because you have a World Cup bid and MLS affects this country here. So the fact is, if any of our Canadian listeners that think we're being a little too American-centric right now, I mean, it's so ingrained that it's impossible for us to ignore.
Yeah, and it's very interesting when you have the president of CONCACAF being Victor Montagliani, former Canadian Soccer Association president, and the ramification of a new USSF president could go a long way. That means a new representative at CONCACAF, and now with the bid coming, it's yes, there's a lot of ramification to the fact, and there's other names too. There's other grassroots campaigns that are not necessarily official, like Steve Gonz's, but that are slowly trying to gather support. We'll see if there's any of them that come to fruition. But there is now at least some players that are maybe stepping up to the plate.
All right. Maybe we'll end with this. I'm going to make a not so bold prediction: is that 12 months from now we'll know of how the 2018 cycle ended. We'll know who's on top of the world. We'll know how the U.S. did. We'll be starting to prepare and think about World Cup qualifying, even because it will start sooner than we think a year from now. How do you think that we're going to be looking back at the U.S. in this particular time 12 months from now? Is it going to look like an overreaction? Is it going to look like the right reaction? Are we going to, be facing a summer without the U.S. in the World Cup? And what would that even mean if that happened? That's a lot of questions.
I don't think it will happen, though. I think the United States will find a way to qualify, if that is even from the playoffs. Like, if they finish fourth, they should probably win that playoff against what could probably be New Zealand. So that's usually the case. So
Australia, but
Australia, true. No, Australia's on the other side. Australia was Asia now. No,
they're playing Asia. It's Asia 5. So it needs to be Syria or Australia.
Okay, so either or, United States would be the favorite against them. So that's if they finish fourth in the CONCACAF hexagonal tournament. So I still don't see that happen. Still see them finish top 3, finding a way. So that being said, they will be in the World Cup, and then it doesn't really matter once they're there. It's might have a chance to get out of the group the way the groups are going to unfold. So I'm not necessarily. I don't see a lot of change coming the next year. We'll see if the USF election process and all that, but outside of a corruption scandal coming out of the woodworks, I don't really feel the course is going to change a lot. Where it's only a few tactical changes needed the field. Off the field, I think they're still the biggest program in the region. Mexico is pretty big, but I mean the infrastructures the United States do have, it's not necessarily comparable. On the men's side in Mexico, yes, but if you're talking about the whole pyramid, the whole youth to pro, it's almost uncomparable against other team in CONCACAF, the United States.
I think that 12 months from now, we'll be looking at the U.S. pretty much exactly the same place they were in the world at the end of the last World Cup. I suspect that they will find their way in. I think that they're actually going to win both games in the next leg, and we'll go in as the third-place qualifier, and that Panama will end up playing Australia in that knockout game. The poor bastards from New Zealand are stuck with probably Chile, and that's probably not going to end well for them. Poor New Zealand. But at any rate, and at the World Cup, it'll depend on the groups, but they're a tournament team. They always have been. I mean, look at what they did in the Gold Cup. Look what they did in the last World Cup. They had a group that they had no business getting out of, and they did, with Klinsmann in charge, who was, Captain Chaos in many ways. So I think that probably what we'll see in about 12 months' time is that we'll be sitting there at the status quo, and that's frustrating. I get that from a sports fan perspective. If your team just seems to be, I'm a Raptors fan. The Raptors are the U.S. men's national team personified in the sense that they're good, they're quite good, but you just don't see a path for them to get to the top, right? And that's kind of the same frustration. I get that, and that can sort of make you want, to chop heads off to try and figure it out. But the reality is,
they're good, but no LeBron. They're good, but no Ronaldo.
Yeah, it's the same problem in many ways. That just occurred to me. That is a hot take because that just literally occurred to me. But yes, the USSF, or the USMNT, is the Toronto Raptors of international football. And maybe on that note, Kevin, I'll leave it to you to say goodbye.
You can follow Duane on Twitter at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. And as always, until tomorrow, have a great day and have a great soccer.
You can find the podcast version of all the shows we do on iTunes, Apple Podcast, Google Play Store, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and anywhere you get your podcast.